Hello and welcome to Section 7 of the Academic Literacy module. In this section, we will be considering how to structure an academic essay and organize paragraphs in a meaningful way. At undergraduate level, knowledge mustn't just be learnt, it must be understood and eventually applied. The most reliable way for learning facilitators to assess whether a student has understood the syllabus content is through essay writing. An essay is an extended piece of writing, usually between 1,000 and 3,500 words in length, in which your understanding of the assigned topic is presented, supported but not dominated by consulting reliable external sources. The emphasis is on your understanding because ultimately facilitators are marking your work and evaluating your progress through your studies. To draft an essay that is dominated by external source information means that the facilitator cannot clearly determine your understanding because it is being crowded by other authors' voices in your essay. There are various steps in developing an academic essay. These include understanding the essay instruction, brainstorming and planning, the first draft, editing and including primary and secondary sources, the final draft, and referencing. The key to understanding the essay instruction is to first identify instruction words. Instruction words are essentially action words or verbs that indicate what level of knowledge or understanding needs to be reflected in your essay. They include words like discuss, analyze, evaluate, compare, contrast, explore, describe, and define. The core focus refers to the general or dominant guiding idea of the essay. It is usually a theme or phenomenon that impacts a specific environment or group of people. Essay topics also include limitations to enable you to present quality knowledge about a single aspect of the core focus rather than discussing it in general. In looking at brainstorming and planning, a good place to start when starting to brainstorm your essay is to focus on what you already know about the topic. Don't be tempted to dive into research or read up about the topic until you have taken note of what you know. This is the step in which you explore, for example, mind mapping and concept mapping in order to understand your point of view. This is the step most often left out by students and is essential to do because it is the best way to counteract plagiarism. Once you've identified your own ideas about the topic, you can proceed to identifying gaps in your knowledge that need to be further researched. The best way to identify knowledge gaps is through planning. A more appropriate word to use for planning phase of the essay writing process is strategize. Most of you should be comfortable with mind mapping as a brainstorming method. In the planning phase, look carefully at the mind map and determine which aspects of the topic you are less familiar with and what type of knowledge source is needed to help you. This will enable you to develop a strategy for finding relevant external sources. Implementing your strategy for finding appropriate external sources is called research. Most students are familiar with the term. Research requires students to actively search not for all sources on a given topic, but for the sources that will best complement your understanding of the topic. The first draft of the essay may not necessarily be a comprehensive draft, but should provide a framework for how the final draft of the essay will be structured. A typical essay structure includes an introduction, setting out what the topic is and how you aim to address it, a body, a paragraph response to the essay topic, and a conclusion, where you summarize the content of the body of the essay and offer an overall conclusion. What is recommended for this draft is that it be written based only on your knowledge and understanding. You should avoid including external sources via quoting, paraphrasing, or summarizing just yet. This is done so that your voice, as expressed in your own words, dominates the essay. Doing this acts as an initial barrier against plagiarism. Typically, a first draft will consist of paragraphs represented by the topic sentences only. The word count will be significantly lower than the required word count, so don't be alarmed by this. In addition, you should make sure that your paragraphs are logically ordered so that each aspect of the discussed topic informs an understanding of the next aspect. Think of it like a maths equation. You're trying to order information so that a logically obvious conclusion is reached by the reader and affirmed in your own conclusion. In the paragraph writing section, we look specifically at how to structure paragraphs in meaningful ways. During the development of the second draft of your essay, your ability to include primary and secondary sources will be put to the test. Remember that supporting evidence via quoting, paraphrasing, and summarizing should be inserted into each paragraph at the appropriate place, after you have stated the topic sentence in your own words. The final draft should be a reflection of work done in the first two drafts, and should only require proofreading and small adjustments prior to the submission of your essay for marking. An essential question to ask in evaluating your essay is whether your voice still dominates the essay. Are the topic sentences of each paragraph in your own words rather than quoted or paraphrased or summarized from external sources? Is your explanation of concepts clear enough that external sources are used to complement it? And have you achieved a logical flow based on your own reasoning, and is this clearly communicated to the reader or marker? During the final draft stage, you should also draft a reference list that is indicative of the sources you included in your essay. Make sure that you have access to all these sources so that you can easily access the required information about them in drafting the reference list. As stated previously, referencing is an integral part of academic writing. It demonstrates that you have engaged with other authors' works and included them as part of your academic argument to enhance your views in a meaningful way. Not only are you required to include in-text referencing to indicate where you have consulted sources in your essay, you're also required to create a reference list to follow your conclusion at the end of your essay. A reference list is a list of sources included in your essay where you provide essential bibliographic information about these sources for scholarly reference. Make sure that you familiarize yourself with the Harvard style of referencing that is used at Da Vinci Institute. Work carefully through the various aspects of this particular section as it constitutes the culmination of all previous sections covered and synthesizes these into a single document, the academic essay.